This is really an important presentation, and one that's going to be different than what's typically out there in terms of goalkeeper information for kids and how to best train them. And this really deals with traditional goalkeeper training and why it falls short of what kids who are serious about goalkeeping really need. And we're going to go into really why that is the case. And this picture here shows a goalkeeper coach doing traditional skills at a clinic, and that's fine. And traditional training comprises these kinds of clinics with multiple kids, with a coach, doing mainly static skills, and then with their teams, they typically will have scrimmages where coaches will give tips to the goalkeeper as time allows during the scrimmage play. This is going to take an in-depth look at how most goals are scored, and based on that, we'll delve into some key reasons why this typical approach has major limitations. So to start off, it's important to take a look at the overall types of goal scoring situations, and there's really two main types for the purposes of this presentation and analysis. There are open lane goals, where an attacker is essentially unopposed by any defenders, and this would include breakaways and shots from either side of the goal, and also possibly ones from the center, although it's more likely to have defenders packing into the center in a typical attack situation. And then there are close-in goals, which are typically nearer the center of the goal area and closer to the goal, and where there are multiple attackers and defenders involved in the play. And this also has implications for how the goalkeeper needs to defend against this kind of potential scoring situation. So these photos here show examples of the two major kinds of shots we talked about. On the top two photos, we show open lane shots, the one on the left, a 1v1 in the center, and the one on the right, an open shot from the side where the shooter is being chased by a defender but has broken past the defender and has an open lane shot right at the keeper. Then in the two photos under that, one on the left is a close-in shot where there are four players in the mix in front of the goalkeeper, a series of defenders and an attacker. And then the one on the right, three players in the mix, a couple of defenders and an attacker playing against the goalkeeper. So it really shows the differences between these two types of shots. The open lane shots, obviously, is just the goalkeeper versus a shooter, whereas the close-in play shots are much more complicated, where you have attackers and defenders in the mix, and they're very close in towards the goal, and it makes it very challenging for the goalkeeper to decide exactly how to play this kind of shot. So let's take a little closer look at the whole subject of close-in goals and what they mean for how keepers ought to be trained. Here this chart shows percent of goals scored by location around the goal. And it shows that up to 70% tend to be close-in goals, and this would be especially true at the youth level. Now, it's hard to find data on these kinds of statistics on the internet. There's very little that's kept versus other kinds of sports like baseball or basketball, where there's more data than most people can possibly comprehend. But for soccer, there's relatively little. But there was a study done by an individual on Premier League matches from 2009 to 2013 during those seasons, and went back and analyzed the games and where the goals were scored from. And based upon that data, it shows, in terms of just areas in front of the goal, about 70% of the shots, shown by the two percentages in red, the 25% and the 46%, were scored in the penalty area directly in front of the goal. Meanwhile, shots more to the side or farther out, which would tend to be more of the open lane shots, are scored to a much lesser degree. So what it means is that goalkeepers have to deal almost 3/4 of the time in defending a close-in play with that kind of shot. So that really has some major implications for how the goalkeepers need to be trained. Now we're going to show a couple of video clips that shows an example each of an open lane shot and a close-in play in a shot. The first one is open lane, and it's going to show that the shooter in red, who's coming into the side of the goal, has run past the defenders and makes an open high shot near the top of the box. And the goalkeeper makes a deflecting save. It's a quick shot, not necessarily an easy shot to block, but the goalkeeper is really facing down just one shooter, and it's still far away from the goal, and it's not really qualify as a close-in-play situation. Meanwhile, the other clip will show multiple attackers and defenders that are involved with several touches on the balls before the shot actually occurs. And it becomes pretty evident that this is a much more complex play situation on where the keeper needs to be and how they need to judge what the shot probability could be and where it might come from. So here is the open lane high shot example, and you can see that the attacker in red runs through the two defenders, and the shot comes in with quite a bit of distance between the shooter and the goalkeeper. So the goalkeeper had plenty of time to judge where the ball was coming and to make the deflection, and without having a completely confusing situation as you might get with a close-in play situation. Now, by comparison, we're going to watch this close-in play situation. It's in slow motion, and the goalkeeper is in red. And you'll see that there's a number of attackers and defenders that are involved in the play. The ball's bouncing around quite a bit. A number of different players have touched the ball before the shot finally comes into the keeper. And even though the keeper general positioning is to defend the left side of the goal where she was standing, she still had to move back and forth quite a bit and try to find the exact right position where she would have the best probability of making the save. And this is really a very difficult play. And when the shot comes in when it's that close, the shot time from the shooter's foot to the goalkeeper's hands is actually very short. And just all of the action going on in front of the goal can be very confusing. And so it's a challenge for the goalkeeper here to determine exactly where she should be. And if she's just a couple of 3 feet off, for example, of where the best place to stand is, this is a shot that can very easily go in. So from this last video clip, we can see that being in the right spot is really very important, especially for these close-in shots. And if the goalkeeper is just 2 or 3 feet off the best spot to stand, the percentage save probability can drop significantly, particularly when the play is very quick and the shot can come in very quickly. Being just a few feet away can be the difference between not making the save and making the save if the goalkeeper's in the best spot. This picture here illustrates this point. And let's say the boy who's the goalkeeper right now is not in the best spot based upon where the ball is and where the shot might come in. And the best spot is a few feet over to the left and a little bit in front. If a shot comes in quickly, the goalkeeper is going to have a real challenge to get back to the best spot quickly enough and make the save. So the question comes up is, how does a goalkeeper learn whether to be a little bit more to one side or the other, or a little bit more forward or back? This next chart is here to illustrate the likely effect on the percentage probability of a save by a goalkeeper if he or she is just a few feet away from the optimum spot at the time the shot is taken. And I'm going to note that the actual percentage of probability depends on the location and the type and speed of the shot and a bunch of other factors. So this is just here to illustrate the concept. This is a chart where on the left-hand side on that axis it shows the percentage probability of making a save, and then on the bottom axis it shows the optimum spot at 0 and then the number of feet away from the goalkeeper's optimum spot, either to the left or to the right at 1, 2, or 3 feet. And it's really a parabolic kind of relationship as shown by the curve, and the curve is a fairly steeply declining one. So what it hypothesizes is that if the goalkeeper is standing on the optimum spot, which would be the 0 point, the percentage probability of making a save might be 80% or could be higher, depending upon the kind of the shot. If the keeper's just a foot away from the best spot, the probability does not drop probably too much, and this is illustrated to the left side of the chart by the dotted lines. So it might just drop 10% or so to 80%. But as the goalkeeper gets increasingly farther away from the best place to stand, the probability of making the save begins to drop more dramatically. So it's possible at 2 feet away that probability drops down towards 50%, and by the time the goalkeeper gets 3 feet or more away, that probability could drop down to 20% or even below that. And there's a point at which the goalkeeper simply could not get back to where the best spot would be quickly enough, and the probability would be 0. So the hypothesis here is that this curve is pretty steep, and illustrating how important it is from the point of view of the goalkeeper standing on the optimum spot, how important it is to try to determine where that is. So in the last slide, we talked about how there's a pretty steep drop-off in the probability of making a save as the goalkeeper gets even a few feet away from the optimum position when a shot comes in. And let's take a little bit more of a look here as to why that can be the case. And this shows an example where a goal can be scored when the goalkeeper is just a few feet out of position in this diagram. It's a simplified one where we show a single attacker and a defender and a goalkeeper, and then of course a diagram of the goal area. And what we're showing here is the attacker and defender are battling for the ball, as shown by the back and forth arrows towards the top of the box. And the goalkeeper is moving around in the goal box itself, hoping to be in the best position as the attacker and defender battle for the ball. But let's say the goalkeeper is actually out of position by a few feet when the shot actually comes in. What we have to recognize, really, the key factor is the speed of the shot. And typically kids can shoot the ball at around 25 miles per hour if it's a reasonably fast shot, and that travels at about 36 feet per second. So the box itself is 54 feet from the top of the box or the 18 back to the goal line. If it's a full-size field, it could be a little less for a kid-size field depending upon the age group. What that means is that when the attacker shoots the ball towards the goalkeeper, the travel time from the attacker to the goalkeeper is going to be 1 second and possibly less than a second, maybe 3/4 of a second, maybe even just half a second. It doesn't give the goalkeeper a lot of time to react to the shot. So if the goalkeeper is just a very few feet out of position, it's highly likely the shot's going to go by. So when we take into account the actual speed of the shot, as well as just the confusion that can be occurring as the goalkeeper is trying to figure out whether the defender is going to clear the ball or not, this shows really that it can be very easy to score on the goalkeeper in this kind of a situation. So let's take a look at the training implications for goalkeepers based on what we've discussed. For goalkeepers to learn to be in the best spot as often as possible, they need to play the space as much as possible and learn as much as they can by osmosis with a lot of repetitions. Traditional clinics tend to focus on skills that can help most with open lane shots and using the skills such as speed, diving, and facing down breakaways and so forth. Close-in shots can be practiced and coached at scrimmages, but the number of repetitions can be relatively low. For example, it's possible in many scrimmages for goalkeepers to have very few shot opportunities. Setting up special short-sided sessions for goalkeepers, such as 3v1 versus goalkeeper setups, can increase repetitions dramatically. So short-sided training allows the goalkeeper to develop really more of a sixth sense of the best place to be for defending close-in attacks, and we're going to take a look more at how this can work. So let's take a little bit more in-depth look at this short-sided play and its potential benefits. And what we're saying is repetitions, repetitions, and more repetitions are key to help develop the sixth sense that we're talking about. For actual close-in play, the number of shots a goalkeeper might get in a typical half-hour team scrimmage could be just 5 or 10, depending upon the nature of the scrimmage and how the teams are balanced during the scrimmage and so forth. In a short-sided play session, which is deliberately set up to give the goalkeeper a lot of shots, like in the 3v1 versus goalkeeper situation, a goalkeeper can potentially get 1 or more shots per minute. So in a half-hour session, the goalkeeper could get 30 or 40 shots to practice on. So if we look at the chart here, the short-sided play session on the right has a huge advantage over typical scrimmages on the left. And this can equal up to 5 times as many repetitions in short-sided play as you could get in a traditional scrimmage. And if you do a session of each week over the course of a season, this could be 300 to 400 close-in shots in just 10 weeks, which could take much longer period of time to do with traditional scrimmaging. So here we're going to take a look at an example video clip of short-sided play for goalkeepers. You'll see that the play is completely game realistic. Doing half-field play maximizes the play opportunities for both the field players and the goalkeeper. And the goalkeepers can really get all of the various attacking and shot situations in this play model, including working with one or more defenders, which would be a game realistic situation. So as we watch the video here, this is a 3v2 situation with the goalkeeper. It's a group of boys who are about 10 years old, and you can see that there's lots of rapid play opportunity that's close in. A lot of shots occur in a relatively short amount of time. The play is very close in towards the goalkeeper. It's very quick. The goalkeeper has to decide where to defend the goal, how to work with the defenders that are there. And it really is just a good example of what short-sided play can do to help develop goalkeepers as well as help the field players that participate in this kind of a play situation. So, benefits of the short-sided play session training that we've just been taking a look at for serious goalkeepers. It accumulates to hundreds more repetitions during the course of the season if there's a session each week, for example. Provides more opportunities for goalkeepers to take risks, helps them get that sixth sense learning and increases their confidence. It helps improve the save rate for 70% or more of the types of shots goalkeepers will typically get, which are the close-in type, and selected field players can get more practice too. So based on everything we've now taken a look at, how should serious goalkeepers really be trained? And on the left is a typical approach where this is a comparison based on competition teams that would have 3 practices per week. The typical approach, 2 team practices where the goalkeepers will get some field skills and some static training if the assistant coach is available, and also scrimmage coaching. And again, maybe that 5 or 10 shots in a half-hour scrimmage. And then a goalkeeper clinic session during the week with a club coach. And typically there would be multiple kids, as many as 4 or more per coach. And again, if we keep in mind that even if you have a 1-hour clinic session, when you have 4 players, it's actually a 15-minute clinic session per player. What should happen is 1 practice only with the team, which is enough for some field skills and scrimmaging. Then the traditional goalkeeper clinic session, but with no more than 2 serious goalkeepers per club coach. And this takes a little bit more resources, but it's also going to result in a much better trained goalkeeper. And then the 3rd session would be a short-sided play session with 1 serious goalkeeper and 3 to 4 field players, as we've just shown. This will provide much more training for close-in plays and shots, and frankly just produce a much more capable goalkeeper. So to wrap this up, let's just review what's needed for holding these short-sided training sessions. Obviously a coach, the goalkeeper, plus 4 field players for 3v1 versus goalkeeper. It can be 2v1 versus goalkeeper if only 3 players are available, or 3v2 versus goalkeeper. But again, it's important to keep it short-sided to help maximize the shots that are going to be there for the goalkeeper to practice on. A small size half-field setup with a goal or flags can suffice if a goal is not available. A good quantity of balls to keep play going shot after shot to maximize repetitions, and a team parent if someone is there can help serve these balls in. The coach should spend time also behind the goalkeeper some of the time to see what the play actually looks like from his or her perspective, and that can help for optimum coaching. And then also to try to video some of the sessions to rewatch them and help better educate both the coach and the goalkeeper on playing the space and making some key improvements.